quick one before we start. If you're sick of living off servo pies and guessing your way through meals on the run, this is going to help. It's PowerBee from Nature Bee. It is a full meal replacement shake. We live on it and we thrive on it. It's not a snack, it's actually a meal. And it's got grass-fed whey protein, probiotics for gut health, and it's the only shake in Australia with Nature Bee's PowerPollen built in. 2 shakes a day. It is that simple. If it doesn't work for you, Nature Bee gives you your money back, no questions asked. The intro pack's $39.95. There are links in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to another Truckie Tuesday with the king of the road, Rod Hannafy, who's sitting on the side of the road in his Kenworth somewhere out there. Rocket Rod Hannafy, welcome again. How are you, brother?
Good, thank you, Luke. It's been a 4-capital week, a 4-state week, and I've just arrived back in Dubbo to have my 24-hour break and head off tomorrow to go back to Brisbane.
Rod, a lot of Australia witnessed torrential rain this week. Some places got 4 months' rain in one day, which happens. But it means that a lot more potholes are going to appear on our roads. And there was an unbelievable photo caption, and I'm sure you've seen it, of a Coles delivery truck with its front right steer wheel going horizontal in a huge crack. It wasn't just a pothole. It was a wide crack in the road. And you say to yourself, how do you get yourself in that situation? And I'm only thinking, Rod, that possibly that truck just didn't see the crack because it was full of water. Have you seen the photo?
Mate, I haven't seen that one, no. But when you talk about roads full of water, many years ago, there was torrential rain in the Northern Territory, and a bloke drove through a section of road, did his delivery, came back in a fuel tanker, drove into it, and he and his son both died and drowned.
Wow.
And the washaway was that big that a triple fuel tanker was below the level of the road. So
Wow.
He's driven over it, thought it's all good. He's come back, he's driven into it thinking, yep, I drove through this on the way up. There was only a little bit of water. It's all good. And he drove into it, and the 3 trailers and truck ended up beneath the level of the road, and they both died, mate. So, it's one thing, and I know they keep saying, if it's flooded, forget it. And, yes, that's certainly a concern. But, does it mean that if there's 2 inches across the road, you shouldn't drive through it? So there's got to be some common sense. But if you don't know the depth, then, mate, you've got to be wary and expect that it could be a great big hole full of water.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm assuming that people who use our roads as frequently as you professional drivers know the roads really well. You know the causeways. You know what part of the road, if you travel on them frequently, what roads are susceptible. But there are measuring sticks. I've seen them. I've seen the measuring sticks, the white and black measuring sticks that show you how much water are in these causeways. Are those measurements everywhere?
Mate, they are generally the same and similar. I have seen them where somebody's put one in and virtually it's been 0.2 metres at the bottom. So, the post has sunk into the ground or somebody's knocked it in. But generally, they are still only a guide, and it is the responsibility of the driver. So ages ago, mate, I pulled up a couple of times and I've got out and I've walked into it because I'm in the middle of nowhere. The rain is coming behind me. So I know that depth is going to increase. And if I don't sort of get through now, I could be stuck. So I pulled up, walked into it to have a look and make sure that the road surface is solid, that there's no big holes as we've discussed, and gone through safely and securely. Now, the other thing is, remember, I could be in a B-double or a road train that weighs 60 to 100 tonne. Now, there's a difference in driving that through water, and particularly if it's fast-running flood water, and that driving through in your car where a tree could come down, and hit your car and knock it off the side. And I'm sure we've all seen videos on television where cars get washed away. So I'm not saying that, we are special, we should be different, but you've got to consider the size and weight of the vehicle, against somebody in their car trying to drive through something and risking being washed away.
When you're on a deadline and you're nowhere near being able to, say, pull over and look after your logbook obligations, and you think, I'm a long way up here, and I can see that I've been through worse than this. I'm going to push through. Does that cause a lot of problems?
Look, again, depends on where you are, what you're doing. Their answer is if it's flooded, forget it, and that's one thing. As I say, common sense, which we're going to start selling in bottles, Luke, so we're going to be millionaires by the end of this year at least.
Yeah.
Common sense says that you look at it, you assess it, you make a decision based on knowing what's there rather than guessing or, thinking what's there. And if you have to write in your logbook, that I had to travel half an hour extra because the flood was coming down behind me, and obviously people know of those things, I believe that an officer would give you a fair go, because the alternative, and I don't know whether you've seen it, Luke, you could leave, you could stop there and think, I'll wait for this to go down. It comes up round you. And I've seen blokes ending up virtually stranded in 2 metres of floodwater because they sat there not to drive through one crossing. So You've got to make good decisions because it can get worse. And
you know what? It is common sense that can save your life or save $1 million worth of damage to both your truck and your freight that you're carrying. What happens with insurance if a driver thinks it is safe, I've done this, and then damage occurs to both the truck and the freight?
Well, again, much like the chain of responsibility, mate, the driver's at the end of it. He's the one that cops it, and he's going to be pillared or praised. If he's done the right thing and got away with it, he'll be told, thank you, well done. If he's done the wrong thing and gone in there and it's all lost, well, why did you do that? So, it is one of those things where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
That's what I thought.
All you can do is do the best you can, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, insurance covers so much, but if it's proven to be negligence on the part of the driver, the onus is on the driver, isn't it, not the company?
Mate, it depends. Again, there was a company a number of years ago tried to sue a driver for major damage. Mm-hmm. Now, again, if the bloke was, being sensible and operating to the best of his ability and he made a mistake, for instance, the road could collapse underneath him.
Exactly,
and that happens not just in floodworks, mate. You drive down the road, you pull up on the side of the road, I need a pee or whatever it might be, and the road gives way under the truck. Well, then how could the driver have possibly known that? He didn't do it deliberately. But if he's driven into something or he didn't get someone to give him a guide or, he's made a stupid decision, again, it is an insurance thing. And look, a couple of companies did try it on with drivers. My understanding is that it didn't go because it's part of their work and they can't know everything. They're not a mechanic, they couldn't know of a mechanical failure, those sorts of things. They're not road builders. So there's a whole range of factors, and like everything, it's all in the detail, and some of it's grey and some of it's black.
And Rod, the roads suffer because of the low budgets that the states have, and the federal government to an extent, have on repairing our roads. We don't repair roads like they do in America and Europe, do we?
No, we don't do it properly, Luke. I've got to say New South Wales at the moment is out doing a lot of overlay, resheeting the top of the road. So they run along with bitumen, they put the stone on it, and they're telling us that extends the life of the road. That's good, except for the fact that they go straight over the top of all the potholes and failures and dips and bumps and breaking parts. And then, of course, what happens then, as soon as they've driven away, well, that failure comes through their new overlay.
Yeah.
And I understand their intent, but why they don't go out first? And there's got to be the right machine. I'm sure you've seen at times, Luke, where they go along and they scrape up the road or they level it out. They take the bits and pieces off the top. Now, if they did that before they did the overlay, I think they'd get better value for money and we'd get better roads. But they don't drive on them, Luke. They don't live on them. It's not their workplace. And I've got to say, it's not just New South Wales either. I've rang now at least 5 times to get one bump on the Hume Highway done in Victoria. Just a little road, just a little outback road, doesn't have much traffic. and yet I can't get that fixed. And again, if they go and fix something when we notify them of a problem, so let's say it's a pothole the size of the palm of your hand.
Right.
Now, if we ring up, we report it, they go out and they fix that properly when it's small, yes, they've got to send a crew out. So, it looks exorbitant. It might be a $3,000 cost to go and fix a pothole. But if they leave that there for a month, in the meantime, it rains, it's hit by 3,000 trucks, one car blows the steer tyre and runs off the road and the driver dies, well, then the cost is going to be 10 times that to repair it. And in the meantime, had they acted quickly and early, they could have saved money. They could have saved an enormous amount of further damage. They could have even saved a life, Luke. And I can't get them to understand that principle because it does not seem to be entrenched in the road authorities' mindset at all.
Rod, we wanted to introduce somebody to today's Truckie Tuesday that you actually introduced us to. Rod, you remember last year you were talking about getting a trucking song for the industry, and there was actually a listener. And, Rod, you were all across this. It was from a listener telling us about Travis Sinclair, and we tracked Travis down. He joins us now. And, Travis, welcome to Truckie Tuesday on the Bonafide podcast.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, Rod, g'day. Yeah, it's been, I've listened to your show quite a few times in the truck myself, and so it's great to have a chat with you.
Travis, you're a truckie too, but we heard your song, Yeah, I'm a Kenworth, and I thought it was absolutely fan-bloody-tastic. And I'm sure Rod's got lots of questions for you. So, Rod, I'll let you go first.
Yes, Travis. So it's been a while that you've been involved, and we go back to the days of Slim and a few others. We haven't had a lot of people involved in trucking music in Australia, and even in America there's not that many. You've got Tony Justice, and Crazy Wally seems to have been very popular of late. So, mate, what got you started in trucks, and then quickly what got you started in music?
Well, my family, the Sinclair family, have been in transport back with, horse and carts and carting milk and delivering milk. And then my grandfather, old Cannonball, who I write about in a song called Still Riding the Line, Eric, his name was, Eric Sinclair from Springhurst. He was a gentleman of the road, and he was known sort of far and wide as Cannonball. And then my father, Peter, he used to saddle me up when I was a young fella in the truck. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but I used to drive out all the back roads and farms and when I was about 12. So my love of trucks started, I suppose, when I was born, and my love for country music, because Slim Dusty, who was someone I really looked up to for many, many years, and finally got to meet Slim. And then my dream was to win a golden guitar and get a Slim Dusty hat. And I remember one Christmas, Santa had left a cowboy hat in the chimney. I thought, no, I haven't got a hat. There's nothing here that looks like a hat. And then they said, you better check the chimney. Just see that I think the chimney might be blocked. And
no, because Santa was wearing it and it got stuck.
It might have when he come down. Yeah, so then of course I had my hat, my Slim Dusty hat, and I had to go and see Slim and get it signed, and I got a beautiful photo, which we're making a documentary actually at the moment, my brother and I, Jake, and we're doing a doco from my family in trucks because we've got a rich history. My great-grandfather, Glover's Transport, years ago with Reg Ansett, that was on my nan's side, Harry Glover. So it's on both sides of the family, and it was inevitable that I would drive. And the singing sort of, everyone says to my dad, where do you get the singing from you? He said, I can sing, it's just my passage out's a bit rough. No, it was really good. I got to meet Slim. I took Slim before he died. I took him for a ride in my truck, him and Joy, and we did some gigs together. And, yeah, it was really great. So my love of that. And then, of course, Tanya Kernigan actually got me involved with the College of Country Music, which I went to. And then I met Garth Porter from Sherbet. And so the rest is history. We wrote all these songs. I think we've had 12 or 14 number ones now. I think I'm Kenworth went to number one after 7 hours after we released it. So trucking songs are still quite popular, which is good, because our industry really needs this. It needs that bit of camaraderie. And I remember when I picked up a guitar when my grandfather Cannonball died, And I taught myself to play. I don't read music, but I taught myself to play and write songs. And I just remember saying to Dad, I want to use music to try and get the transport industry, the fabric of it, back tight again, you know.
Yep.
And he sort of said, I don't know if you'll do that. But as it's turned out, we've sold thousands, tens of thousands of albums over the years. And like I said, we've had lots of number ones, and it's been really, really good. So, and Kenworth, of course, my relationship with Kenworth, the way that song came about was actually, I said to my young brother Jake, who is a really, really talented songwriter, I said, I can see this song about, it was sort of inspired, I guess, from the Cars movie, but I can see the truck singing the song about its own journey throughout Australian history. And so we looked at the history of Kenworth and put it in a song where you can almost picture a truck singing it, yeah, I'm Kenworth, that's who I am. Yep. I've hauled Australia too, and I've looked after all these men that have driven me, and because, as Rod will testify, our trucks are probably more than just a bit of metal and machine under our backsides. They're more like, we always say, she's me beauty, she keeps me safe, and it's really interesting how all that sort of come about.
I love it, mate. I got to know Slim pretty well over the years too, because I started in radio very young, and when I was in regional radio, you'll both appreciate this. The regional music circuit is their bread and butter, and I was very lucky to get to know Slim and Joy, but Tanya and Lee Kernaghan. And a lot of the others. The Lights Coming Over the Hill was the song that we played on 2LF a lot, but we played a lot of Slim Dusty. I'd Like to Have a Beer with Duncan was a massive hit for not just country fans, but for everybody. But
absolutely, known around the world. I
would love to have a look at the photo of you and Slim in the hat. Can you possibly send us a picture of that so that we can post it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So we've got Amber Lawrence as well. She's done a bit of trucking stuff, and certainly toward the kids. As I say, Tony Justice in America, Brothers of the Highway, and mate, your song there about Cannonball, it's about running up and down the Newell. So I often relate to that. And of course, the other one I really like is Road Train. It's got that really ethereal sort of theme to it, mate. So we've discussed over the years having something for the industry. So you've done something for Kenworth. So, of course, now I'm going to annoy the shit out of you and see if we can come up with something, because we can't get the kids in. We can't take them with us. Yeah. It's a medium that we don't have a lot of throughput, like, outside of yourself. We don't get a lot of trucking music on the radio. Jimmy Barnes tried a couple, and I've hit Luke up to get on to Jimmy to do something else, but we need something that people see more of us. Like a lot of the time now, they don't see the driver. They see the truck, get that bloody truck out of my way. But with taut liners and tarps, they don't see the freight. They don't recognise that we're delivering every single thing that they use and need, and all those sorts of things. So, mate, I'm going to seek your support to try and come up with something like that we can sell the industry on, because it's one thing. Even if you walk into a truck stop, Travis, and, Wickham's have done some things. They've got some really nice trailers with lights on the hill and other promotional stuff. And what's her name? Jane Denham.
Yeah.
They did one for her. And if you drive into a truck stop, somebody looks at that, what's this about? But your average truck, they don't care about the driver. We don't get the message out there. And I know I'm putting a bit of weight on you, mate, but I think it's something that we could do that would help, because outside of it, look, convoys and that, they get really good press with the public. We get the public involved, but just generally, they don't recognise what we do. We don't tell them, and we don't have their support, and we really need that.
It's interesting you say that, Rod, because, when we go to shows, and recently we just did Convoy for Kids up in Brisbane and Lights on the Hill, which are great organisations. I've done them for years and years and years for them. And the interesting thing is there's a lot of people come to those shows that I've noticed that aren't involved with trucks. You've got your older ladies and older men and that have never, always looked at the trucks and taken photos. And I've noticed, and you probably testify to this too, Rod, I've noticed coming out of Melbourne and up the Hume, there's guys, Scotty Curtis, who's a great one. You see them taking photos of all the trucks all the time. And they'll post them up on Facebook, which Facebook's a great thing for this, because it's a tool we can really use, not just for music, but for trucks and the positive side, which I've been talking with Tommy from Wickham Freight Lines, who's Tommy's one of the daughters, the Wickham girls, and she's got a really, she's really energetic about, on our Wickham's Freight-Line fan page, which a lot of people that are on there are fans. They're not truck drivers, but kids and that see this. And we've spoken about doing a virtual reality trip where they come for a ride with me in the truck on the screen.
Yep.
And it's been done before, like Outback Truckers and all that, where you go on a journey, but utilising and showing the safety aspect, the fun side of it, where you catch up with mates and you wash your truck and you look at the bonnets and names. Because one thing, Graham Keogh from Wickham Freight Lines, who I've known Graham for a lot of years, and one thing that I really admire and love about this family, the Wickham family, is they let their drivers personalise their trucks. They've got their names on them. People might have stuff on the bug deflector of the name of their truck. And I remember growing up as a kid, and that's what got the creative juices to go, wow, I want to drive a truck. I want to put Hauling with the double T or whatever it might be on the side of it.
Yep.
And I actually saw one not long ago, a little bitumen tanker up near Cowra come towards me. And one of my songs is called Eating Up Bitumen. And here's this little Freightliner coming towards me, and it's got Eating Up Bitumen. It was a bitumen tanker. And just recently, like Lawrence's in Sydney, they put Midnight Run up on the new Aerodyne, and so it tickles me pink to see that they like the songs and put it up there, but more so that the industry has gone through a hard stage, and I think a lot of OH&S has contributed to the deterioration of the atmosphere of the industry. And I know you've got to have, I'm all for OH&S, do things safe. But there's certain things, I guess, that it definitely has, whether, people that wrote these laws or whatever knew, but it definitely has contributed to the decline because, like you said, you can't take kids too often anymore. We're quite blessed that Graham will let us take our kids with us.
Yep.
Certain jobs we can't because they won't let them in there. But
yes.
But certain jobs, when it's our own sort of work, they'll let us take them. So it's a great thing. But going back to what you said about you need something, we've actually got something for you. So we're about to do the film clip for it next weekend, the weekend after, down at Geelong and a couple other spots we've got to film in.
Yep.
But we've got a song called Trucker Is Your Name. And when I was talking to you the other day, Rod, this song, I wrote this song the nights we'd all heard that we lost the beautiful soul, Dane Bellinger, from Bellinger's Transport from Bathurst, and a young guy from down home here, Wodonga, that drove for Dawson Haulage, young Wayne Martin. And these two young guys, this is what I based the song on. I mean, it's for everyone in the industry, but it was inspired by these two young men because I looked at it. I mean, I'm still fairly young. I'm only 49, but I looked at these young fellas and thought, these are guys that had, beautiful trucks. They love their truck and they love their mates in the trucking industry. And they generally were great mascots for the industry for young ones, So I'm going to incorporate this in the documentary as well. But the film clip, we're going to sort of keep it generic on I've got a guy that's going to drive the truck and be the actor in it. And he's the Trucker Is Your Name. But
yes.
But it relates to everybody in the industry, and it started off quite a melodic sort of song, a little bit like Things I'd Rather Have Been or Road Train. But my young brother, I was stuck on it for 6 years, this song, and I'm like, it's not right. There's something not right. It's bugging me. And my young brother, Jake, who's, like I said, he's a magnificent songwriter, he said, Trav, maybe you're looking at it all wrong. Maybe this song maybe it's meant to be a celebration rather than something that's sad.
Yes.
And I thought, you're absolutely right. So Jake played very similar tune to Sons of the Road to it. We went in the studio and it all just fell in. And I tell you what, this song is an absolute number one, which I'll give you a copy of it, Luke, when we're ready to drop it. And you can be the first to drop it if you want to.
I'd love a 60-second sneak preview if you can send it to us. I can't wait to hear it now.
We could probably organise that, actually, because my brother knows how to do that. I'm a bit
me too.
Computer illiterate in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's a great song. It's got some really great lyrics in it. It explains the driver to people that aren't in the transport industry. It's to a mate, you're you're an extra pair of hands on a breakdown through the night. To a hitchhiker, a warm cab when the night begins to cry. But to the banker, you're just a number, another face amongst a crowd. But to a farmer, you're a hero, hauling hay to bail them out. And Trucker is your name. So
Luke's
wow.
going to say, I challenged him from early on about Trucker and Truckie, and I know that you're looking at a bigger market as well. I actually listened to
already with that.
I was going to intervene then, but I thought no, I better not.
Well, I even listened to. I was listening to Freight Man by Jodie last night. Yeah. And we had her on Triple M at one stage many years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
You can imagine the tears in her dad's eyes when he first heard that. And she's got the Trucker in there as well. And yeah, look, I badger people nicely, but mate, I understand, and it's really good that you've made the effort. And one of those things, like you say, it's taken you 6 years, so let's hope that the delay has been good. So you had a competition for your last album.
Yep.
And you did sort of well with that. So is this song going to be part of a new album, or are you releasing it separately? Or
yeah, it's part of a brand new album, which we've got another song on there called Truckin' Worldwide, and it's going to more than likely star Jane Denham and Tony Justice and myself singing on it. And we've got some other songs there about life, and we've got some about being up on the water. This whole album, the album's going to be called Generation, and so there's a few different flavours, but it all relates back to generation. And the actual song Generation itself is pretty much about, you know, the working class people, the truck drivers, the farmers, the radio jockeys, everybody that we built the land, you know. So generation, step up to the plate and take your place.
Yep. In
this generation. So I dreamt this song. I dreamt I had to do an album called Generation, and then Jake said, "What's that about?" I said, "Well, I don't know." But and then the song just came out one day. It was one of the last songs to be written for the album. It was the lead song of the album, but we didn't have it. So when it come about, and I woke up and I thought, "No, here it is here." And Jake come up and we sat out here on the property and talking to the horses and looking around and got our inspiration, and it's an amazing song. So we haven't cut that one yet. We're about to cut that one and the rest of the album with Brendan Marola down in Melbourne. So it's getting very close, and we might even try and get you in the studio down there, Rod, and maybe get you in there when we're...
What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Play the triangle or the tambourine? I mean,
well,
you don't want him for backup vocals. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Thanks for that, Luke. I really appreciate that support, mate.
Well, you've seen Graham win $20,000 to kick off his bucket list.
You've won a $20,000 worldwide holiday.
What?
Yep.
With a great holiday, thanks to Nature Bee.
I never win anything.
Now, it's your turn. You could be heading to the Cook Islands with a wonderful stay at the Edgewater Resort and Spa. Sun by the pool, island night buffets, and long romantic walks on the beach with your chosen travel partner. Oi, what are you doing? Turn that off. Here's all you got to do. Spend $79.90 on any Nature Bee product just to go in the draw. You've heard Rod bang on about the powers of Nature Bee.
We've discussed how hard it is to get decent meals on the road. I had a power shake for breakfast on Friday, mate.
What did you think?
No, they're very good.
And now there's the PowerBee meal replacement shakes. It's to make getting good nutrition even easier. Under $6 a meal. Yeah, Rod and I might be the power couple on the highway, but for your health, it's got to be PowerPollen and the PowerBee shake. And Nature Bee's also knocked off 10% for you legends out there watching this. All you have to do, use the code LUKE10 at checkout. Jump onto naturebee.com, sort your health out, and get yourself in the running for that Cook Islands holiday today. Details are in the description. Always use in conjunction with a good diet and regular exercise.
So, mate, that brings us back to the thing that everybody talks about and nobody can fix, and that's mateship in the industry. So we know it's hard. We know there's a lot of dramas. There's a lot of things plaguing the industry. And yet, I'm trying to start this group called Knights of the Road because I believe that the average truckie thinks nobody cares about him, and there's only you and me and maybe Luke. So, I can understand the cynicism of drivers. We've been through so many inquiries and, 9 years of a bloody heavy vehicle national law review that I don't think has really given us what we need. And you feel alone. You're out there on your own. We know a lot of blokes have turned to having their own music because they can't get what they want, sort of thing. And I listen to audiobooks, so there's a number of things out there that people can do. But mateship has certainly thinned. It's not dead, but it's up to us to rekindle it. It's up to us to keep it going because we all know that if you ask somebody to do it and nobody does it, then nothing happens, mate. So would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head, Rod. And I know I'm a big, what would you say? I'm a big advocate for mateship and for, I've sat down with a lot of blokes that have wanted to commit suicide and I had a mate when I went in the army who did commit suicide in front of everyone with a rifle and I understand with people, like there's a lot of mental health issues out in our world at the moment, as everyone knows. One thing, I guess, and it's not being anti-government or anti NHVR, anti anything like that, but we really have to grab the bull by the horns and we have to do it ourselves. So we can't expect which organisation's going to save us because they're not. They've got a job to do. They've been implemented procedures to act on. But I guess that it all comes down. I spoke with a guy actually the last couple of weeks. He didn't really want to live. The funny thing is when you extend your hand in grace and love to a person, and this is the hardest thing for blokes because I grew up with my father and grandfather and all my uncles are in the trucking industry and they're all tough nuts. They're all grown up, eat a big meal, fighting sort of fellas. They're all back in their day. They were all pretty tough.
Yep.
But I grew up, I suppose, watching this, wanting something a little different. Where, I look up. Even though I'm a truck driver and I'm a singer, people look. A lot of people look up at me and say, "Oh, well, you're famous, or you're this or that." But I actually look at them in a higher regard than myself. In that, what I mean by that is that. I had two guys come up to me in Queensland at this last concert, and they're both going through marriage problems. And they said, "Have you got any advice for a couple of young fellas? We've got a couple of 9Os where they truck along together, and they're in a business together." And I said, "Yeah, just when you get home, put the polishing rags down and that, and spend time with your wife and kids." And I even said this to Kenworth, and I'm not trying to hide anything. The trucks and the bills in business nowadays are so big. You're paying $500,000 for a prime mover, and there's a little kid in the driveway with a football that wants to kick footy with his dad. Yep. And I know when I signed the contract for my truck, it was, I think from memory, $257,000 brand new. And I thought my hand was shaking when I signed the contract. Thinking, crikey, that's a lot of money. And I was only 22 years of age, but now it's double that. And like Graham and your boss at, Pillen, they've all got to absorb these costs. And then, of course, drivers they've got to work hard and do their bit. Now, as we spoke about before, Rod, you've got a thing called natural law and another thing called, legislated man-made law, and they fight each other all the time. Because natural law, and have I falsified my logbook? Of course I have. I don't hide it. I don't hide it from the authorities. I said, of course I have, because sometimes when I'm dropping my head and I'm tired and the book says you've got to get through the next camera to get to the next place so you can get the next load, otherwise you're going to miss that load. And you're like, well, you know what, I'm just going to put my head down for half an hour because I need it. And then you've got to work out, well, now I've got a problem. Now how do I square it up? I've got a problem. But I did what natural law I call said, you're tired, right? Even though I've only started driving for 2 hours, you're tired, put your head down for half an hour, have a freshen up, and you're right. And, this is my 30th year in trucks, and I'm still alive. So my grandfather and my father taught me this, and it works. And they've never had major accidents. They've never, caused any grief. But to a legislated world, are they perfect? Far from it. But to the natural man that knows how to look after himself, to keep himself alive, in my eyes, they're heroes because they do what's right, not always what's legal, but what's right. And that's the hard thing in our industry, to do what's right as opposed to do what's legal.
Travis, you hear this even with people who drive cars. You're better to be late than dead on arrival.
That's right.
Yes.
And this is what I say, Luke, to drivers we have, and we've got lots of different nationality drivers now on our highways. I've been run off the road 3 times in 12 months. Now, I haven't been off the road ever in my life. I was once actually in the Pilliga, but that was my own silly fault because I didn't listen to my body, and I almost put my truck on its lid in the Pilliga. But, I say these young guys, because I have them come up to me where I work and where I load, and they're different from different countries, and they say, oh, how do we do this, or how do we do that, or my logbook says I must do this. And I say to them, look, you follow your logbook, that's fine, the best you can, but when your body says enough is enough and you're nodding, everyone, my grandfather said, everyone has a sign that when you're falling asleep. Mine is my knees knocked together. Once my knees knock together, that's it. Just find somewhere to pull up and go to bed. And it doesn't matter whether I'm late or not. But that's how, because to start in this industry as a young fella now is even harder than when Rod and I first started, because we had a lot of wiggle room. Nowadays with cameras and cars and, all these things watching you, satellite track trucks, and it's very hard. So there's so much mental stress on young drivers, and this is why they're leaving. They say to me, I can't, one fine and you're paying $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000, and they're thinking, if like our eldest boy who's a copper, he can do a 24-hour stint, right, legally. He can do a double shift. He gets paid overtime,
and we get fined for it. Yeah.
But I said, but you'll fine me. You'll come and fine me in your car and fine me if I've done over 14 because it's unsafe. It's a load of rubbish. We have to get real with ourselves and with each other. Otherwise, we're just going to keep filling grave sites, and that's the struggle, And I've been told before, because as I said to Rod, I've put in to go to different events, government events, and talk about it, but they won't let me get a ticket. They won't let me come because I speak straight. And that's a sad thing, because you got bureaucracy that would rather cover it with red tape and say, yeah, we haven't got time for that. You can't talk like that. You're talking insanity, Travis. You can't talk like that. And that's why nothing will ever get fixed, because they just want you to jump through a hoop, but you say, but if I jump through that hoop, it's going to cost me thousands. Yeah, but you've just got to jump through it because we don't know what else to do. So, and this is a problem. So I say we're in a war. And when you go to war, one thing I learned when I went to the army, you go to war, you need to learn how to protect yourself. And that's what, what I mean by that is you need to know if you need to save time in your job, we'll take your food with you, put it in your fridge. Yeah, you can pull up at a truck stop, which I used to do when there was good food in truck stops. Now it's all rubbish. But you pull up at a truck stop, you think, I'll just go to the toilet. You come out and there's 2 busloads of people in the roadhouse, and you're like, there goes me meal break. I can't even order food because I haven't got enough time to get it cooked and wait for it, because there's 100 people in there and a couple of buses. So the variables are so fine that, you can just be, even coming out to Wallen, as Rod would know. I come out to Wallen there one night and I needed to pull up. It was school holidays. There were all caravans in the truck parks, and I'm in a B double, or a road train. I can't remember, one of the two trailers. I couldn't get a park. Yeah. So I had to keep going, even though my book said, no, Travis, you need to stop now. Well, I can't. Where do I stop? So many variables, but we just got to look after each other. And when we see someone struggling, just help them. Like, I always say, look, I wear a Wickham Freightline shirt, and I'm proud of it because they're a great company, facilities, depots. At my job, I can run my job by my book now. My own job, when I had my own truck, I couldn't. But this is the thing, you've got to be with people that have got good work and really do, look after their drivers. But when we're out on the road, it doesn't matter whether you work for Toll or Wickham or Lawrence's or whoever, we're all one. And that's what we've got to remember. We're all one.
And that's what happens too, mate. I had a bloke ring me. So next weekend on the 7th of March, there's a little truck show starting at The Rock, just south of Wagga. Yeah. The bloke rang me about 3 or 4 months ago. They had a young bloke commit suicide on the Friday. and an owner-driver in the local area on a Saturday night. So 2 blokes in 2 days, both drivers, one an owner-driver, one a company driver, and we don't know what their stresses and what their concerns and what their issues were. We don't know whether they reached out. But again, to get to that point, there would have been blokes that would have helped had they asked, and we know that's easy to say. We're not them. But goodness me, mate, out on the road you spend a lot of time alone. And look, there are times where a song can help and can make you think about something different or better or whatever. You can always phone a friend. And look, it used to be one of the things in the past. But I suppose we had CBs and that was quick. Well, now we've got phones and you can ring a mate. And look, I've had conversations that went for 3 hours when we actually had decent phone service, not that we do now, and solved the world's problems. But, that was another bloke who was a driver who actually got cancer and died of that. So, life is short. Make the most of it. Don't give up on it. Get someone to help you if you need it. Like you say, blokes had the balls to come up to you and ask, how do I do this? Now, if you don't ask, you don't learn. And if you sit back and say, well, he's not going to help me, well, you haven't given him a chance in the first place. Yeah. And then most of us are genuine people. Like, you talk to people that are on the road and they say they'd rather be on the road with trucks because they know what they're doing. We generally try and do the right thing, but we're not all perfect. Let's never, ever say that. But, mate, there's so much we can do. We can help one another or we can make it harder. And it's a pretty simple choice, isn't it?
Well, we have to help one another. We love it. We all love the industry. Like, I always said, and my father and grandfather said this, if you don't enjoy trucks, if you're not passionate about trucks, you won't last in the industry because it's if you break it down and look at how much you'd make as an hourly rate, and I think we worked it out, it's like $5 something for all the hours you do, you wouldn't do it. No. You're out of your head to do it. You'd go and be a doctor or something else, But everything has a challenge. Like my young bloke, he's 17 and nearly 18, and he wants to drive, and I used to have him out with me tippers, and he'd drive. I'd get him out in the paddocks, and he's a good little driver. And my dad tried to keep me out of trucks. He said, "Oh, you want to go and do something else?" But that was never going to work. And rather than do that, and I know Graham from Wickham's is like this because Graham and I have spoken many times about this, like. And he really cherishes and he's a man that really cherishes and loves his guys. Like you say, we've got some good young guys here, Trav, and I said, we have. There's some great young fellas around, but they need that guidance and they need us to help them not think they're going to steal their job and hinder them. We need to help the industry and just look at, notice, keep an eye on your mates, are you okay day and all that, well, keep an eye on your mates. If you feel they're struggling, have a word to them because there are a lot of big struggles in this industry. But when we band together, and look, I want to give the heads up on. I did a gig at Wagga for the Livestock Association. I tell you what, that really butterflies in my heart because there's an industry there of the livestock and ag sector which I was involved in with the tippers. The camaraderie and mateship in that, I thought, wow, that's what we need on the general division, and the fridge van. We need something like that where we can have a couple of year get together or something, and because it was great. There were no awards like it wasn't, he's the best and the rest of you are all rubbish. It's not that. It was just a night we played, me and the band played, and it was such a great night. It's a real credit to them because they've kept that in their industry. And when I used to go out in the farms and they'd take me guitar and the kids would be sitting up on the Land Cruiser while I'm tipping fertiliser off and they'd be like, can you sing us a song? And I pull the guitar out and sing them a tune while I'm unloading.
Wow.
And it was great, Yeah, it just takes that bit of initiative to just go, are you okay? Can I help you? I saw a little Indian guy the other night and I said to him, he was in a 904 or a 908, one of the two. He had a flat top with coil on. Now, we were steel carters, my father and I, and for many years, cart and steel. And so I know how to put a tarp on. And anyway, I said this guy at Kulak, actually, I said, do you tarp that? And he said, yes, I did. And I said, mate, that's a credit to you. I shook his hand. I said, good on you. I said, there's not a crease in that tarp. It was magnificent. And I had a look at the way it was tied on and that and a bit of sticky bug. And I said, mate, that is a credit to you. Who taught you to do that? He said, this older gentleman showed me to put it on, and it showed me how to tie the ropes. And I looked at all the shanks, and they were all at eye level, and I thought, he's taken, like, that is, as you know, Rod, that is a craft. That is a real, and Keogh says on his podcast, we're not truck drivers, we're craftsmen.
Right.
And that is a real craft, to have all your knots at the eye level. And so I thought, good on him, like that is a real credit. And that's what we've just got to do. Just, if you've got the knowledge, just show someone, help someone.
It is Truckie Tuesday. Rod Hannafy is with me. Special guest Travis Sinclair, the Truckie musician. Or is he really a musician / Truckie? A bit of both. But I'm absolutely fascinated with this conversation. And you talk about the importance of talking to people and sharing before the reality of life gets too much for you, which is tragic. Travis, I just want to know, you would know Matt Cornell and Adam Brand.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're two very good mates of mine. And they wrote and recorded just the most fantastic song called Our Church. Have you heard it?
Yes, I have actually. Yeah.
And it's about talking. And it's about, and we've had them on the podcast, and I, in fact, had them live in the studio on Triple M. And that song, geez, it resonated with me. Unbelievable. And you can see it was recorded a few years ago if you look at the film clip. But in a blue dress in the recording studio, you can see a very young Tory Dark.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
But it's a fantastic song. Well, it's a fantastic song. Folks, go to YouTube or wherever it is you get your music. Adam Brand, Matt Cornell, and Our Church. It's just a it's an anthem, and it even says,
it is.
If you go to war, I go to war. And they repeat it. It's an anthem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It really, and there's a testimony. I'll just go back to what you said about Tori Dark. Like, Tori's been on, with Lee Kernaghan on tour, and she's doing really well, and it's great to see. And Adam, over the years, has nurtured young acts through, and Lee Kernaghan and I recorded a song called We're From the Country. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a number one hit for us. But Lee took me on the Man from Snow River tour that went around Australia. It was an arena spectacular with horses. We had 46 horses, I think, from memory. And
I remember it.
Yeah, there was the lady off Home and Away. I'll think of her name in a minute, but and old Bud Tingwell. Which, get this right, here's a bit of useless information, but this is fascinating.
He, folks, of course, was the Queen's counsellor in the castle. But
the castle, yes. We love in our family. We've always watched. And when I got to work with him, where I asked him what was F3 and a few things, and we're all having a giggle. But he I said to Bud, do you remember being at the Doncaster shopping centre with a young plumber, truck driver, who was training for North Melbourne at the time, and he had a little baby boy in a bassinet, and he said, he's looking at the ground, he goes, yes, I do, yes, he used to go there every Wednesday, I think it was, with his wife and shop. I said, that little boy in that bassinet was me. He goes, what?
Wow.
I said, you used to sit with my father, Peter, and talk while your wife went and did the shopping, while my mum went and did the shopping.
Wow.
That little baby boy was me. And he's like, you're kidding. And it was an amazing experience, that tour, which I was the understudy for Lee, and I did the electric rodeo concert because Lee had to go away for did it in Melbourne at the tennis centre, but it was fantastic, the opportunity. And there you go. See that, Lee handed down some experience and opportunity to me, which was much appreciated, and it helped me in music to grow my craft in music. And we're all a little bit different, and so it's a great thing. So what I'm saying is, it's a really great thing to hand down your knowledge to young ones, whether it's in music or trucks or a radio presenter. You help people out. And I always say to our kids, love language matters. And what I mean by that is to extend your hand in love to a person, and it matters because you see it down the track later on, and that little green shoot of opportunity or love that you've shown to someone grows into a tree. And they'll always remember it. That is unbelievable.
By the way, I think it was Georgie Parker
Georgie Parker. Yeah, Georgie. Yeah, she's such a character.
And you won't believe this, Rod Hannafy. Steve Bisley played Banjo Patterson. Mm-hmm. And Simon Westaway, who was Russell Crowe's he emceed Russell Crowe's wedding.
Yeah,
but he's an actor that's been. I used to work with Simon's wife, Diane, when she was a producer at 2GB. It's a small world. Anyway, Rod Hannafy, have you got a last question for Trav?
So, Trav, you're out on the road, you're making music. There's a lot of us out here that need, I suppose, just something to aim for. Yes, and I'm trying with Nights of the Road, and you're doing it with your song. Is there one piece of advice you would give to the truckies out there listening now?
Well, my advice to aim for is, I guess, in our society nowadays, when you see businesses doing well and big trucks and lots of stainless and chrome and all that, my advice after, being in it for a lot of years and washing many, many trucks and tyre black and many wheels and polishing many wheels, and I like a shiny truck. I always try and look after it. But there is a but. But you've got to look after your health before you burn yourself out. And what I mean by that is just, take the time, if you've got a girlfriend or a wife, kids, take the time, park the truck in the yard, leave it dirty for the weekend, and go and enjoy your family. Because, one thing, that we've learned some hard lessons the last few years, my family, when you lose people, you can't get them back. Yes. And it's like, gee, I wish I had have done that. And I've said to some blokes, young blokes standing over there, and I did it. I'm gonna be really honest here, and I'm gonna make myself look really stupid. But as long as someone gets something out of this, it's great. My young fella Wyatt Silas, I was here washing me 659 on our property. I had a tipper, B-double tipper, and it was a Sunday arvo, and he was there with his footy. That's why I revert back to footy. And he goes, "Dad, you want to kick the footy?" And I said, "Mate, I've just got to finish this truck now." As anyone will know, to wash a truck properly, it takes you 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. Like it takes a long time. When you got a hose, at Wickham's we got pressure washers and everything, and it's automated washers. It does it by itself. But when you live on a property, it's your own truck. A garden hose is about the best you got. And I said, "Mate, I just got to finish this because I've got to go to work early in the morning." And he said, "But Dad, aren't you going out to a farm tomorrow?" And I said, Yeah, I'm going out near Hillston or somewhere. And he said, "Are you driving on dirt road?" And it just went bang. And I dropped the hose and I thought, "You idiot, Travis." And here I am, just spent 6 hours washing this blooming truck. And he wanted to kick the footy with his dad, and I fobbed him off. And then this kid had so much wisdom. He goes, "But you're going to get it dirty tomorrow. You're going up a red dirt road." And I just went, "Oh, really?" So I threw the hose to the ground. I threw the sponge away, and we went and kicked the footy and had some tea. And I looked at that kid, because I'm a pretty deep thinker, as many people know me. And let me tell you, I don't mind saying, look, as a young guy, I went through suicide twice myself. And that's why I say don't be afraid to talk to a mate, talk to anybody, talk to the lady behind the truck stop counter, whatever it takes. But don't give up and look at the important things in life, because trucks are great, but your family's greater. And without a family, most blokes don't have a business, because they just either kill themselves or they run themselves into the ground. So just remember your kids and your wife, and the rest will take care of itself.
Excellent advice, mate. Good on you.
That is the best Truckie Tuesday I've ever been part of, and really not part of. I have been enthralled listening to this. Travis, thank you so much for giving us so much time.
No, thank you, Luke. It's great what you do. I listen to you when I'm going to Sydney overnight, and when I'm not on the road with music, I'm in the truck all the time. So we love what you do. And we need it, because it's like Rod said, it does get lonely, and you really don't talk in the UHF that much anymore, because it's on the radio and music and that. It's good.
As soon as you do, you get howled down, mate. I actually had a bloke call me coming up to Hume yesterday, and he said, "I'll go down a couple of channels," and I thought, "Oh, yeah, where are we going with this?" So, are you the bloke that represents us? So some people say that. Anyway, he had a couple of questions. One, he's had trouble with automatic headlights coming on sort of halfway up the truck and blinding him in the mirror. And the other one was the little green lights you see on some of the trailers now, what they were for. And, of course, I answered the questions, but 3 or 4 other people had come down as well. And then they all sort of stuck in and had a say. And it was one of those things where you think, that's what it's about. It's about, saying g'day and asking a question and getting a reasonable answer. But geez, so often now you say more than 10 words on Channel 40 and it's get off the bloody channel, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
So, why people have to be so angry. And look, I think you'll agree, Trav, that there is nobody that cares about us like us. The public don't care. The authorities don't care. That everybody, the people that make the rules and police them, they don't care about us. They just want us to do it their way. And if we can't help one another, then nobody else will.
That's what it comes down to. That's why I always say it's up to us. And I've met some really good law enforcement people that actually gave Wickham's a bit of a rap. A police officer down there at Broadford, who I've known over the years, he's known me about my music, and he said, that mob you work for, they're drivers, their trucks, they do a good job. And I said, they do. Look, no one's perfect, but you know what? Graham has had passion and vision. He loves trucks. Graham Keogh absolutely loves trucks. He rang me from the States there when he was over in America there a couple of years ago, and I had to tell him, look, I've got to go to sleep. But he was sending me photos of trucks and saying, check this out, look at this. But when you get people that are passionate, and I know the Lawrence boys in Sydney, and there's lots of them out there. There are lots of people that are passionate about trucks. You only look at their trucks to know that. And that's all we're going to do is look after each other. And the biggest thing is, which we haven't mentioned, is don't cut each other's rates. Don't cut each other's throats, because that helps no one. And most of the time, I used to subby for blokes, and rather than go in and take their work, you'd say, oh, look, I need a load. Do you think you could load me? And they'd say, yeah, no worries. And you looked after their freight. You looked after their name. And you know what? They always paid you good money, and they paid on time. So it starts with us. It's not the legislation's not the problem. The trucks aren't the problem. It's us. It's people. And when people get, like you said, Rod, they get on the UHF and, get off the radio, you idiot, that's not helpful to anyone. You want to act like a tool, well, turn the bloody thing off, just turn it off. And if you can't, the old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Don't say anything at all. Yeah, I wish everybody abided by that one, mate. Geez, that'd make a difference, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be simple, wouldn't it?
Trav, where are you playing again soon? Tell us anywhere, because this podcast goes everywhere. Where can we see you? Where can we hear you? And when's this new album? And when's this new album come out? I've got to have a listen to it.
Yeah, well, we're going into the studio, so I'm taking a month off in a couple of weeks, and we're going into the studio to do some more. So I hope to have it out by the middle of the year. As far as gigs, we've got a tour. I don't know the dates or anything yet, but we've got a tour because if we play our cards right, Tony Justice is going to come out from the States with us and tour with us this year, so which will be in the later part of the year. And I know they're looking at places like Lights on the Hill and Convoy and stuff like that to hold the tour on as well. So there's a few things of pipe work, but we'll definitely let you know, Luke, when we get the dates, and I'll get you a copy of the album before we release it officially, and you can have a listen and play what you like. So yeah, so it'll be good. There's a lot of exciting things on. I went through a bit of a lull where I thought, because music's as hard as trucks in Australia. It's a hard game. It costs you a lot of money, and it's a lot of work. And I almost was going to sort of give it away, and then my young brother said, Trav, you can't just give it up, And I sort of thought about it, and I thought, well, he said, kids, like, I was in a parking bay, I got out to go to the toilet there one morning, woke up, I was in my shorts, bare feet, and I snuck around the truck to go have a leak out up Gilgandra I was, and this little kid hopped out of a Land Cruiser, and he goes, hey, look, Mum, there's Kick the Kenny. He didn't say, oh, there's Travis Sinclair. He said, oh, there's Kick the Kenny, Mum. Anyway, so they
Explain
came over,
that.
I put a shirt on. Yeah, that's a great song.
Explain what he
It's
meant.
one of Travis's songs, yeah. So a young kid knew what it was, and he'd obviously knew Travis's face, but knew him as Kick the Kenny, not as Travis Sinclair.
Yeah, the kids are incredible. Like to be able to use our position in music and in trucks to influence the next generation. I had a young fella, Luke, just quickly. This young fella came to a concert. I kept his identity safe, but he came to a concert and he was hooked up to oxygen. And I said to him, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" And he stopped and looked at me and he said, "Trav, you already know that I'm going to die this year." And I do, because I talked with his family. I said, "Oh, gee." I said to him, "Well, what would you have liked to have been?" He said, "I'd like to be a truck driver like you." And I said, "Really?" He was 11, this kid, and this kid changed my life. I tell you, my perspective of having a bad day is nothing. So I took him out. I had my truck there at the concert. So I took him for a ride down the road and give him a steer out on a back road with his mum and all his brothers and sisters. And, it was just amazing to see, a kid's face light up. And the young fella he passed away. But just amazing what you can bring to people's lives if you're willing to open yourself up, Yeah, so that's all we've got to do in the industry is look after each other.
Travis Sinclair, you're a star. Thank you so, so much. And we will stay in touch and we'll flog the new album. But can I just give you a little bit of advice?
Yeah.
If you want the video to go well, you keep Rod Hannafy away from the camera. Okay?
Thanks a lot, you bastard.
Okay? Go and find Tory Dark. Go and get Elise Simmons from Tamworth. Go and find someone, but not Rod Hannafy, okay?
Nah, look, you both do a good job. It's
Well, how about a jingle for Truckie?
easy.
You can do a jingle for Truckie Tuesday as well while you're at it. Come on, you got nothing else to do.
right. We'll see what we can write you, Luke.
Mate, thank you so much, Rod. Is there anything
You want
you'd
a
like-
rocky tune or something sentimental?
Rod?
Oh, mate, whatever you think's best. We had a rocky one. I did hear the new one the other day, Luke. It was a pity. I see you had a copyright issue with the old one. It was a pity. The boys went to a lot of trouble to write that one. But, yes, you've got to do the right thing all the time. They're always watching you. So, mate, I wish you all the best, Trav. And, yes, I'll come and annoy you when I get the chance and send you something, mate. So look forward to trying to change the world, mate. As you say, there are times when you sit back and you think, is it really worth it? And look, I've had a number of blokes say, why do you keep banging your head against the wall? Well, my view is that somebody's got to do it. You have an opportunity and you either give it a shot or you sit back and whinge about it. And I'm afraid too many sit back and whinge about it. You can't always fix the problems, but you can make an effort. You can think about it. You can help somebody that needs it. And then there's a lot of blokes out there that are in that position, mate. So I appreciate your time and your effort and your words. And I hope that we can do even more in the future, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Travis Sinclair. So remember, if you want something easy that actually fits into a busy day, check out PowerBee from NatureBee. Full meal replacement. Chocolate flavour, 2 shakes a day. The intro pack's only $39.95 and it comes with a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. If you don't like it, the links are in the description. And like anything, it works best alongside regular exercise and a balanced diet.